Hi, everybody. And boom. And just like that, we were live. So, anyway, hi, everybody, and welcome to our Wednesday 8 p.m. live stream, streaming across the universe, at least the known universe. So, we're streaming tonight on YouTube. Hello to YouTube friends. Hello, Chris Davies. As always, fast off the mark. We're streaming onto the Getterverse. We're streaming onto the brand new Tubeverse. We are streaming under Rumble, Odyssey, and yes, even D-Live. Are you D-Live one? Well, I hope I'm D-Live one. Anyway, yes, we are. We're definitely trying to cover as many options as possible. Hello to Dr. Hackenbush, Stu, my good friend, Stu Frost. Thank you so much. Leslie Butler, always a pleasure to see you as well. Thanks so much for being here with us. And a big thank you to those who watched on Monday when we had our friends from the Voice of Wales on. So I hope you enjoyed that bit of a chat. Smokey Bear says, good evening. Twitter didn't like me saying PMS Orden when speaking of New Zealand's Prime Minister. I'm surprised they allow you to say anything short of all hail lovely Jacinta. So hello, Andrew, Ultra King, Frida. Good to see you, my friend Frida, as well. Yeah, so I see all you guys on. So listen, thanks very much. Right, usual routine, get out of the way. Daily podcasts, the links are below. The numbers of people watching our podcasts are growing all the time. So thank you very much for watching the daily pods. Appreciate that one there. And if you want to support the platform, then buy me a coffee. Here's the link. Link is below. And if you don't like that, you can use Donor Box and the links below for that as well. So yeah, so a couple of different options to choose from. Hello, Chaz. Hi, Peter. Furby Heat. Yeah. Chris Davies says, can we all spare a thought for Burnley? Oh yeah, Burnley were relegated. Oh, I know that. But actually, I got huge football excitement at the moment. See, I know I don't talk about football much. That's because I'm a Grimsby Town fan. And Grimsby Town won the quarter-final playoffs on Monday night, and they go to the semi-final playoffs on Saturday against the mighty Wrexham. And if Grimsby beat Wrexham on Saturday, yours truly could be heading to the Olympic Stadium, the West Ham ground, that is, in London the following Sunday for the big final. Loads of excitement. Hi, Vicky. Good to see you. Brian, thank you guys for all being here. Right, we've got so much to talk about. And of course, as always, we are walking a line because we're on anti-free speech platforms like YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Hello, all you Nazis running YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, we're on the YouTube, and we just as important as that, we are on all these other free speech platforms as well. So, okay. Oh, by the way, just final thing before we get going, just to say, I don't know if any of you guys, I know some of you guys are in the States. I'm not sure if you're in Truth Social, Trump's platform, but if you are, make sure you look me up because I'm on it as well. Yes, to the annoyance of some of my haters, I see. Oh my God, how did he get on Truth Social? Well, he did. And yeah, so you can find me. You can find me on just David Vance number one on Truth Social. Someone had actually taken my actual just David Vance. I'm normally the same, but you'll recognize me over there, okay? And the stuff that I'm putting out on Truth Social, the stuff out in Gab, the stuff out in Gettr, yeah, and then of course all the other stuff. So hope you are. I hope there's enough content there to keep you guys happy. Yes, Smokey Bear, look me up. I'm trying to get some action going over on Truth Social. I've only been on it for just over 36 hours or something. So looks interesting. All right. So okay. All right. Let's get to the business in hand. Well, actually, first of all, before we get to the business in hand, let me bring on my co-presenter on a Wednesday evening, because once we have guests on a Monday, I like Wednesday to be just me and you and drum roll, Jed. Jed, welcome. Oh my God, Jed's got the monkeypox. Hi, Jed.
Do you like that one, David?
Oh,
I've got monkeypox.
You didn't tell me that you'd come down with it. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm going for my 16th jab tomorrow.
Well, remember, the jabs are super effective, 100% safe, 100% effective. Hello, YouTube. So, yeah, but as you said, look, sympathies for Jed. As you can see, he's fallen.
I've fallen to the pox.
He's fallen to the pox.
I'm sorry, David.
I'm not even going to go near.
Literally, when we were backstage, I literally when I found that, I thought I'll throw that one in.
I was good. You didn't tell me you were going to do that either. Well, I would prescribe a course of bananas. Try, if you can, refrain from swinging through the trees. And apart from that, we'll not go into the potential causes of a jet because I think that would be way too dangerous. But yeah, I mean, it's spreading like wildfire. I think we've now got about two people in Scotland. Is there as many as maybe three?
It's spreading quicker than Rayner's legs. Oh, sorry.
How dare
I bring the tone down.
The lovely Angela Rayner, who I had the pleasure. We'll get to this one actually in a minute because I watched Prime Ministers. Well, I watched PMQs today with Keir Starmer and versus Boris. But I seen lovely Angela was in the background. So, or as Chris Davies calls him, Sir Beer Korma. Yeah. Listen, everyone has beer and wine at work meetings, which has come as a big shock to me, Jed, because I spent my whole life going to meetings, and the most we ever would have would be coffees. Turns out you should really be having champagne and wine.
Well, yeah, buy the suitcase, of course.
Yeah, buy the suitcase, yeah.
And make sure you've got the cleaners to clean up all the sick. And you've got security. You must have security, David. Come on, in these modern times.
In these modern times, yeah. Well, okay, that brings us then. So what we're talking, as I said, guys, what we're going to talk about this evening is we're going to talk about the Sue Gray report finally came out over Boris Johnson. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the mass shooting that took place in Texas. We're going to talk about that as well, because we need to talk about these things. And then finally, for extra lols, we're going to talk about Ukraine because we have to. So basically, John Gleason says scaffolders will make a fortune if they catch the monkeypox. Listen, it's almost like you guys aren't taking monkeypox seriously. I can't understand this yet, because surely it's the most scary thing imaginable. Nope. I think Jed, he must be.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, David, I was here. Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize you'd asked me a question.
Well, you see,
I was looking at the comments. I was more focused on John's comments about the scaffolders.
Yeah, you see, the reason your comprehension is slipping, that's one of the symptoms of monkeypox.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
yeah. So Leslie Butler says it's really frightening. Oh yeah, Leslie, we're petrified. I can't go outside in case I pick up the monkeypox. Although the method of transmission, Leslie, is something people don't talk about too much because it's a bit awkward. But anyway,
you thought it was safe to go outside, David.
Well, yeah. I think someone calls it the Donkey Kong pox. Smokey Bear calls it that. Yeah, that's so many top comments. By the way, you're all just everyone dropping comments. Brilliant. You're exceeding my expectations.
It's what makes the show, David. It's what makes the show. The comments.
We say it every week, Jed, and it's true. Honest to God, if it wasn't for you guys being here and your comments, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be just talking to myself. The comments are great. By the way, Stu Frost says, "Hey, Jed, why have you got my passport photo?"
Well, it's the only photo I could find, so I thought it was the most recent one. It's within 10 years, so it's still valid.
See, Richie says, even the COVID fanatics at my work aren't falling for the monkeypox nonsense. Yeah, I can't believe, Jed, seriously not, anybody is falling for the monkeypox. Chris Davies says, multiple award winner, virologist and military brigadier Hartley Brewer is fighting off the pox. Maybe she's had it already twice, for all I know, Chris Davies, and hopefully she's had the jab as well. So yeah, James Jameson's joining in the fun here. He's asking, what's this monkey business all about? Well, I'll tell you what it's about, James. It's almost as if myself, Jed, and everybody watching this laughs at their fear porn over monkeypox. I guess that well, we're going to talk about Ukraine in a bit, but maybe Ukraine wasn't doing it, Jed. So they needed to have another. Do you think, Jed, this actually was a deliberate scare tactic? And do you think they're going to keep running with it? What do you reckon?
I think it's got legs. They'll run with it. That and obviously Kyiv, as Chris Davis likes to say. I think they'll run with those two for the early summer. It'll keep them going, and then I think they'll go full hog for monkeypox for autumn.
The thing about monkeypox, and this is I think this is a point that I saw a few people talking about it, and somebody said to the other, do you think that the people who have totally bought into COVID, bearing in mind we're on YouTube, the people who have totally bought into COVID, the people who are still wandering out, Jed, in the summer now, wearing masks, I saw them today, see them every day. I think those people probably will buy into monkeypox. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. The thing is that the psychological warfare has worked. I think it's worked tremendously on quite a lot of people, really. So, once you believe the government and the media, then you're not going to stop believing them, if you see what I mean, unless you get red-pilled. And the way you get red-pilled is by watching things like this.
Well, you're right. That's a perfect analysis, that actually. Jason O'Brien says he needs to change his profile to the monkey. Actually, soon enough, the likes of Facebook and whatnot will probably give you a ban if you change your profile to the monkey. Actually, rather than change your Facebook profile to, I stand with Ukraine, how about just putting a monkey on it? I would recommend, I might do that to my own, actually, because it is such contemptible nonsense this regarding monkeypox. But talking of contemptible nonsense, guys, let's kick off by updating ourselves on the Sue Gray report. And here we have the Sue Gray report has come out, and it's given us all the sordid details. I don't know, Jed, if you can bring up the main BBC link to that headline, because Boris Johnson is instantly...
I will try, David. Sorry, I didn't know you needed that.
I'll talk with you. But Boris Johnson, earlier on today in the comments, stood up, the greasy pig, as Chris Davies rightly calls him. He stood up and said, look, look, we need to move on. We've got a war to fight in Ukraine. There's a cost of energy crisis. It's such a bore talking about the fact that, yes, I broke all the rules that I made all you plebs follow. But we just, really, is this all we have to talk about? So I think Jed's got it pretty much here. Jed, if you bring that lead story up, I can see there's Sue Gray. She's not the easiest on the eye, is she? So Boris has instantly said, look, I've said sorry. Yeah, this is it. Jed, bring it up, Jed. This is interesting. This is the absolute state of British politics, Jed. It's atrocious, really. So Johnson he apologized multiple times today. He's ever so sorry about rule breaking, and the famous or infamous Sue Gray report inquiry found many events shouldn't have happened, and the staff who raised concerns, these were the ordinary people, Jed, the cleaners, the doormen, the people who were saying, hang on, this shouldn't be happening. They were ignored. And then get this, 37-page document includes details of wine spilt down the walls, vomiting, and parties lasting until 4 a.m. in Downing Street, at the heart of the British establishment. And she says, Jed, that the senior leadership stops at Downing Street. But Boris then responded, he says, yeah, but it was his duty to attend leaving dues of colleagues. But he takes responsibility, but not his fault. Jed, what do you make of this? Because it just sickens me to the core.
I just find it, David, you see, it doesn't sicken me. And the reason it doesn't sicken me is I expect it. I expect people who make the laws for the other people to follow, for the minions, me and you, the everyday folk, all these guys and girls watching tonight.
Yeah.
They make the laws for us to follow. The law don't apply to them. It never applies to them. You know, and we could go even further. We could go, right, well, green taxes and green, you know, you've got to get rid of your petrol car and the diesel car by 2030. They're not going to do that. They're still going to have the armored Jaguar supplied by, you know, Land Rover Jaguar free of charge. They'll still drive around in that. They'll still have the 4x4s. They'll still go on the private jets. So the fact that they've had a party and had dozens of parties, and by sounds of it, good parties if they sick up the wall and wine all over and you name it. But it's what I expect, because we don't have politicians. We have second-rate bank clerks running the country.
I mean, Leslie Butler makes a point, and this is probably the serious political point which does scare Boris Johnson. Leslie says, and I've heard this repeated numerous times, actually over the past few months, people were not allowed to visit dying parents during this time when Boris and the gang were having champagne and wine in the Rose Garden at Downing Street. People, and that's true, Leslie, people weren't allowed. Now, I have to say, if I had a parent then, and if that parent was dying, I would have bulldozed my way in. No bugger would stop me doing that. But I understand that lots of people felt that they had to follow the rules, Jed, and they did. And, you know, those people, just like Leslie's pointing out, they let their parents die alone because they felt that that was what had to happen. And yet, the scum who put the rules in place, they were vomiting because they'd taken so much booze at Downing Street. I mean, there is a sense of, you know, I'm outraged about it. You know, I mean, and it's not that Labour's any better, Jed, because Labour supported.
Oh no, well, you know, as Chris Davies puts it, was he be a comma. You know, I think he's absolutely right. And for Starmer to stand up today in PMQs and try and take the moral high ground was absolutely hilarious. If he hadn't done that today in PMQs, tried to take the high ground, he could have actually scored some good blows on Boris.
Yeah,
you know, with his 6 questions, and he could have, you know, he could have got, because I watch it on Vaccine Radio.
Yeah,
and. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me a second.
This is obviously monkeypox.
Sorry, it's obviously the monkeypox. It's taking over.
By the end of this recording, Jed may be actually just
deceased. Oh, up in the tree having a banana.
Or in the tree, yeah.
Anyway, but the thing is, he could have scored some blows, but what he wants to do is take the moral high ground, and he can't take the moral high ground because the revelation of the latest picture that came out of Boris with a glass in his hand, at what I assume was Sunday's leaving do, where, you know, he gave a cheers, is exactly what Bia Cormer was doing in Durham.
I know that. I mean, that exactly, Jed. I mean, James Jameson puts a comment here, guys. My uncle died virtually alone in hospital, brackets, limited visitors, then a limited funeral, 6 people only. I will never forget or forgive. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, James. And you know, you by no means weren't the only family put in this position by these sickening hypocrites in Downing Street. And I'm not sure, like Richie Duke makes a really good comment here as well. He says, this is all designed for a 2024 Labour win because they're all the same. And I kind of agree, Richie. Jed, I don't know what you reckon, but I think people, sorry, I'm just going to get in a bit of echo here. I think people are probably sick of the Tories now. And I think it's possible by 2024 that we could end up with a minority Labour government of some sort. And I think that's by design. I think the powers that be would be quite happy for that, you know, because there's not that much difference between them at all. I listen to them myself, not on talk radio, mind you, or vaccine radio, but And you look, it reminds me of the George Orwell quote, you know, from Animal Farm, when the pigs looked at the humans and the humans looked back at the pigs and the pigs looked back at the humans and they couldn't tell the difference anymore. That's the state of British politics as far as I can see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just find it hard. You can see, certainly if you watch the BBC, of which I don't, and I haven't, since the 24th of June 2016, and that's the morning after the vote, when they had nobody from Leave to interview. Anyway, that's beside the point. But the BBC, Sky News, newspapers, they're all trying to bring Boris down. And no matter what it is, it can be Partygate, it could be anything. They will use anything to bring him down. And it's a coordinated attempt from the printed press to Sky News, BBC, ITV, Channel 4. They just want to bring him down. So to that end, I think to myself, well, actually, no. Because if we allow them, irrelevant of how you feel about what Boris has done, if you allow the media to dictate who should be Prime Minister, then we're finished. So I'd rather support Boris, even though I disagree 110% with what he did. And initially it made me angry, but now it's one of those things. It's what we expect from our politicians nowadays. I'd rather have that than allow the media to bring down Boris, because if they bring down Boris, what do we end up with? Who do we get instead of Boris?
Well, I'll tell you, we'll end up with more of the same, because honestly, Labour will be the same as the Tories. Well, actually, Jeb, also we should point out to people, actually, I think tomorrow on our Rumble channel, on our Hard Truth Rumble channel, that is to say, we did a recording last night with my friend Ilana Mercer and the philosopher Jack Kerouac. And we talked about, and this is for you American guys listening, we talked about just exactly where is the United States going with its electoral system, and do people get what they vote for, or do they get something else? And that equally applies, Jed, I think, in the UK. You know, I feel that we're being asked to vote red team, blue team, but it doesn't matter, because ultimately you're going to get the same things put on you, you know, green taxes, the whole Build Back Better agenda, the whole the whole narrative that's being discussed in Davos at the moment. And so I kind of I'm maybe more radical than you in this. I'm of the view that democracy is a sham and voting is an illusion. Oh my God, Jed, I've really gone down a rabbit hole in this one.
You have, and again, in some respects, I agree with you. Voting does it change anything? No. What you actually get is a different color.
Yeah,
you get the same policies.
Yeah.
So whether you vote blue, you get green. Whether you vote red, you get green and a bit more communism.
Yeah, that's right.
But the bottom line is that's the only thing you do have. So as I discussed with you, I think last night, and it was based on that brilliant interview with Jack Kerouac that goes out tomorrow, 12 o'clock on Rumble and 12 o'clock on Hard Truth Podcast channel, and BitChute and Odyssey. Sorry, you had to get off of it, David. If you don't, I'm stuck. You see, because if we now vote, for example, let's say Reform Party, all we do then is weaken the Conservative vote, just like happened in Northern Ireland with the Unionists. And you weaken the vote, and that then allows the opposition to get in. So if we weaken the Tory vote by going Reform, and I'd love Reform to win, but I just don't think they would.
No.
Then we're left with Labour teaming up with Greens and SNP, and that will be hellish.
But might it be good? Maybe the system would burn itself down all the quicker then. You know, if that was the case.
But would it burn itself down, David? I don't think it would. It would just burn us down.
Yeah,
but
But Boris locked us down. Boris, I mean, actually, John Mercer says doesn't matter who you vote for, the government always gets in, and it's the uni party in the States, it's the uni party here in the UK. I think it's the uni party, Jed, pretty much everywhere, to be honest.
Yeah,
which is a bit
and
of
the
a
only place where you think, well, where we know it's a uni party, particularly this side of the Atlantic, is Scotland. That is definitely a uni party. Where in England, there is that facade of there are two parties to vote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I agree. Well, look, as I say, I mean, the punchline in this one is Boris is not going to be resigning. The party are going to keep him in position. It's just not in their interest to boot him out, even though I think his credibility is shot. I see Jason O'Brien's saying that Ireland is a uni party. Yes, it is absolutely a uni party in Ireland as well, between Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin as well, by the way.
But again, Jason O'Brien's right.
He's right.
If the other side get in, well, the other side get in will get digital passports and food rationing much quicker. But the bottom line is, I think that's coming down the road anyway.
You're going to get it anyway. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree on them. Okay. Well, look, as I say, I mean, I suppose like many people, I'm weary about this as well. And this was the Boris Johnson strategy. Kick it down the road, Jed, so far that people get sick of it. And that's kind of where we are. So, it tells you all you need to know about, I think, the state of British politics. Leslie Butler saying we do need a Guy Fawkes, Chris, a successful one. Well, Leslie, I couldn't possibly comment on that, but
well, I could. Unfortunately, if he was successful, I'm sure we would be in a different place now.
Well, okay, let's shift across then. Let's jump on our plane here, our zero carbon plane, and take ourselves all the way across to America. And we woke up UK time this morning, Jed, with this terrible story coming out of Texas. I think we've got some headlines we can bring up on the screen. And this is in relation to the massacre, basically, at the Robb Elementary School in Texas. Turns out, I thought this actually, all the victims were all in the same classroom. So we basically shot 19 10-year-old. It was shocking. And their teachers, and their teachers as well. With guns he was able to buy legally, blah, 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 blah. Best known to police for rows with his drug addict. So this is a 19-year-old youngster, well, a young guy, teenager. And he went into a classroom and basically murdered the classroom, which, I want to talk about this for a second because there's a personal angle in this one I want to get to. Because my initial reaction is just like horror at this, and I didn't want to get into the politics of it. What did you think, Jed, when you heard about this massacre in the school classroom?
Clearly, it saddened me. Of course, it did. Because what have children done to the world? It's only adults that destroy the world, not children.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it saddened me. Mm. But then I wasn't surprised afterwards. Mm. The reason being is Democrats jumped on it politically. Mm. They instantly went to gun control.
No, they did.
Yeah, of which they do every time. Every time they go to gun control. And I start listening again to Vaccine Radio. With Mike Graham, and a guy phoned him, and he said, "Well, what they should do, a senator or the Republicans, 50 Republicans stopped a vote going through for background checks on buying a gun." Now that clearly shows that the media narrative that you can get a gun in the United States without having a background check has got through to the masses. And that is an utter lie. I did tweet at Mike and Vaccine TV and said, look, that is utterly wrong. You cannot buy a gun in the United States without having a full background check done on you. Yeah. So the narrative started, and it was obvious it was going to start. The moment I saw the headlines this morning when I logged on, I knew the next headline I would see would be about gun control.
Yeah, and you see that's the bit that really churns my stomach, because and this is where I'm going to bring in then a little personal story, which I put out in a podcast earlier today as well. So in the aftermath of something like this, Jed, in the immediate aftermath, when those 19, 10-year-olds were corpses, they're lost to their families. To me, the immediate reaction is kind of, well, shock, horror, kind of praying for the families to find the strength. And it's not about politics. And the reason for this is because back in January the 6th, 1976, there was another massacre took place of 10 workmen, one of whom happened to be the father of my best friend at the time. And I remember that, a dark January evening, and the news, we lived in a little village, the news went around the village very, very quickly that there'd been a shooting. And then one by one by one, the names of the dead, murdered, shot to death men came in. And one of them, as I said, was my best friend's dad. So what I had to do with my family, we then traveled over to his house. And even more sad, his mother had died of leukemia, I think. So he was now essentially orphaned. So he was living with his grandparents. And I had to meet him. And his father had just been shot to death in this massacre at King's Mill. And, like, people say, what do you say in a situation like that? I'll tell you what I said. We kind of made jokes, as 16-year-olds do, because you're not capable of, what else? What are you going to, you can't, yes, I'm really sorry. And then to relieve the huge stress. But like, that was a transformative thing for me, Jed, even though, it wasn't my dad that was killed. It was my best friend's dad that was killed. But it affected me probably permanently for the rest of my life. And I'm thinking of the families of all those people, of those parents who just lost 10-year-old. And that, Jed, I mean, that's where my thought process goes. So I don't give a toss. I don't want to talk about gun control. I didn't want to then anyway. I just wanted to, have a minute of sympathy for fellow human beings who are put in a position that most people in this stream, including myself, because it didn't happen directly, it happened indirectly to me, have been in. I mean, what do you have to say?
Well, one of your points was, one, what do you say? Now, I've been in this situation, obviously being a veteran, and losing people, and I mean, initially, what do you say actually to the people? Because when you're on operations, you haven't got family around you. Well, you've got your military family around you. But there is that initial bit of, what do you say? Everybody's in mourning. Those that were actually at the incident, are particularly affected. But what do squaddies do? The squaddie does exactly what you did, David. Eventually, you have to make a joke about it.
Yeah.
Because it's so grim.
Yep.
It affects you so deeply that if you allow that effect to take control, then you're on a spiral downwards. So squaddies will, not initially, if somebody has died, it wouldn't be initially. If somebody was injured, then it would. Then I'll give you an example. I was in Bosnia. And the the brigade, I forgot what he's called. Anyway, I forgot. A captain decided to go on a patrol, and a Royal Engineer captain. So he was doing all the mine clearing and what have you, and they just cleared this little path so they could get through this wood. Mm-hmm. And he just stood there in a line with the people he was with, and he just leant back on his heel. Just stood there and just leant back slightly. The weight went to his heel, and a mine went off. And went all up at the back of his legs, up his arse, up his back. But also, the person that did that was my boss, the RSO. But the engineer officer behind him got it in the face. Now he was blinded. But we went to see my boss while he was in hospital, and his boots were at the end of his bed, and he was asleep in bed. He'd got shrapnel up the back of his legs. He was going to live. You know, he might have bits of metal in him for the rest of his life. He was going to live. But the commanding officer woke him up with his boots in his hand and went, shook him out, whatever he was called, Bertie, wake up. And he woke up. He went, oh, Colonel. And he went, held his boots up in front of me and said, well, you won't be needing these anymore, will you? Yeah. And threw his boots away. And he hadn't lost his feet or anything like that, his legs. But he made a joke, and that's the point I'm trying to get across. When the tragedy hits you, particularly if you're young, or particularly in my case, I wasn't particularly young, but I was with a finely meshed team, you have to. Because if you face that grimness, and you would face that, I appreciate you faced it once, David, but living in Northern Ireland, you saw death and destruction quite regular, particularly in the 70s and 80s. Absolutely. So you have to lighten the mood. If you don't lighten the mood, it will take you down.
No, that's right. I mean, Abjad, that's so true. You know, I know the people from Northern Ireland, you know, and some of them on the stream will know this, that, you know, we have a kind of a well, you could say a black sense of humor, but you have to, the only way to cope with the trauma is to laugh.
I agree.
You know, it's healthy to do that, but back to this. So you know, and then Jed, of course, as you say, so that was when I read the story about this massacre, and you know, I thought, well, I'll wait for all the details to come in, you know, because in the aftermath, there's all kinds of things happen, and it's better for cool heads to prevail and stand back from it, right? But then, honest to God, no sooner than the story broke, then, as you rightly point out, there were all the anti-gun lobbyists were straight on this. And the media was replete with it, including the British media as well, which is very anti-gun, which is disappointing because I wish the British people were armed like our American friends. But
so do I.
But yeah, as you said, they were straight on it. They were the media, I saw Hillary Clinton. Did you see that? Hillary Clinton put out a tweet about it. You know, Hillary Clinton,
I didn't see the tweet, David, but it doesn't surprise me. She would have had the tweet ready. It would have been in draft for the next shooting, and she'll have the next one. Whenever the next massacre is, she'll have the tweet already ready to go.
But yeah, but it's shameless, you know. And I did see, I think it was Candace Owens. She responded to AOC, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, in a similar mode. And she said, Candace Owens said to AOC, you know, you're basically standing in the corpses of children to make a political point.
Yeah.
And I thought, amen to that, Candace. I agree. It's something that people are saying they didn't see. I wonder, Jed, if when I'm just chatting, I wonder if you jump onto my Gettr, you will see the Hillary Clinton tweet concern that, you know, and folks, this is the whole point, you know, and it sickens me to my core that these people having the decency to let the dead grieve and express sympathy by all means, but don't use the corpses of their little children to make your particular political point. Don't do that. But that's exactly what they did. And I knew it was coming, you know, and I'm probably more naive than some of you might think. I sort of was thinking, yeah, here, Jed's brought it up on screen. Thank you, Jed. So here you go. Hillary Clinton, the Senate must consider an exception to the filibuster to curb gun violence. They did it to raise the debt ceiling and confirm Supreme Court justices. They can do it to stop another 19 families from getting the unimaginable news that their child has been murdered at school. And I've got such a problem with that because she's exploiting the deaths of those kids, like so many other Democrats as well. And you know, it's to me, it's appalling, Jed. You know, I thought they might have been able to restrain themselves, maybe even for a day. But
no, this is it. The Democrats, the left in general, but particularly in the United States, the Democrats can't wait to jump on it. I mean, I'm sure the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, but I did see a clip. I didn't listen to it, but I do believe a Democrat interrupted the county sheriff or whatever press conference on it to make a political point.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure people, but certainly our cousins across the water, I'm sure they'll put me right. And I'll watch the chat just in case people can tell me. But yeah, so it interrupted the press conference about the shooting to make a political point.
Yeah. And the bodies are still probably lying in the school. Do you know? I mean, have they no decency? Absolutely no. But none of them. But
the other thing, sorry, David, to cut you off. The other thing is, again, this is media manipulation. Now, I've gone back to your Gettr because I think this is a valid point as well. When we talk about how it's manipulated by the left and by the Democrats, the media is manipulating as well. Because if you look at that image there of the shooter, on the left is the real image. So what have the media have done? They've turned up the white balance on it to make it look like he's white. Because they cannot have somebody of color committing a crime, a mass shooting. They have to make them look white.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I think it's pretty indisputable with those images, Jed, you can see. And whenever, and the media is very, very cute. They've done this before. They get the images. So when this story broke and then we got an image of the shooter, it was that whitened image, Jed, that came out. And even though when we get I mean, it was a Hispanic school. He was Hispanic. All the other kids in the class were Hispanic. So it couldn't really have been perceived as necessarily, a white teenager.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, David. I knew somebody from the States would put me correct. Is that the Texas governor's press conference was interrupted by a Democrat candidate running for that office to make a political point.
Yeah, thanks, Tatiana. That's exactly, Jed, the point. Yeah. You see, the thing is, they just have no shame at all, and then they mock us because if those of us like myself who stand back and say, "Can we just give the families a little bit of space and time?" No. Oh, that's you righties. No, we got to stop the gun control. We got to stop this gun. We got to take the guns off people. Let's be honest, and I'm sure American friends will agree. The Democrats in particular, they want to disarm you, and you know why that is, don't you? They do.
Yes, no, they do particularly, and I think actually if that happens in the United States, I think if they pass anything that will do that, then they've got a big problem.
Yeah.
Because there's 400, 500 million guns in the United States, and they're there for that very reason. The government shall not infringe upon your right to bear arms.
And I think our friend Republican Rocker saying here, I can see Beto O'Rourke, who is a raging woke anti-gun lobbyist, made a scene today at the live event. Yeah. These people, they are absolutely shameless, the trouble is that I think that it's only that anti-gun narrative, Jed, that gets any air. I saw a really good tweet someone put up, and it was explaining fundamentally the best way to stop such events as that which we saw today. Arm the teachers. That's what you need to do. Make sure that there's security at the school. That's the condition that world's fallen into. We actually have to do that. And people say, for years you've heard it as well. It's the same thing. People here in the UK saying, we're so smug. We're not armed like the Americans, and we don't have these horrible events. But then we're defenseless. That's the point, isn't it, Jed?
You have nothing to uphold your rights. And I think we have two problems in this country. One, we're not armed. And two, we don't have a Bill of Rights. You only need arms. See, I look at it this way. Try it this way. You only need arms to uphold something you have a right to, i.e. a Bill of Rights. So if you have a Bill of Rights, you need to have arms to uphold that Bill of Rights.
No, I agree. But Jed, there's a couple of really interesting points being made here on the Gettr stream. I see.
I'll do my best if you give me your name.
No, it's okay. I see our friend Republican Rocker saying, and I think he's in agreement with you, Jed, that you will witness the silent majority become loud if the left attempt to confiscate guns. And I think that's what you're saying as well, Jed. That
Yeah, no, absolutely.
you know, and then obviously says, arm the teachers like Israel. We have our guards for shoppers, museums, but not schools. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, see, here's the thing. Here is the thing in this one, guys. And yes, Jason, you're right. We have the 1689 Bill of Rights in the UK. But I mean, what does that mean anymore? The thing is that, you know, there's such a thing as evil. I believe there's evil and there's good. If you believe there's good, you got to accept that there's evil as well. And therefore, evil does walk this planet. And that's just a hard reality. And you can't make laws against evil because it will happen. And,
but
you know,
I saw a point today, David. Yeah. A mass shooting starts with one gun. A mass shooting ends with somebody else bringing another gun.
Yeah. Yeah, agree.
And I think that generally is a valid point. It starts with one gun and it ends with somebody bringing another gun.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not sure what the situation in that particular school was. I don't have any knowledge of it. I don't know, had they security? Did they not have security? Clearly, the young man, the shooter, he'd gone off his head. He'd shot his grandmother, I think, Jed, before.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, imagine shooting your grandmother and then shooting an entire class. I mean, I'm not so old that I can't remember being in class in school with other 10-year-olds. I remember, you know, I vaguely remember it, and I just, you know, Jed, can't conceive that someone would have come into a class of us little 10-year-olds and shot us all. I can't conceive that. But then,
no, I can't put myself into a position where that is a thought in my mind. Getting a gun and going shooting, you know, 19 school kids of 10-year-old. I can't put my mind into that position. But those that can put their mind in that position will be a mass shooter. They will be a mass stabber. They will be a bomber. They will be one of those mass killing events, because their mind goes to that place. And whether it's a gun they use, a knife they use, a bomb, a car, a truck, whatever it is, they will still achieve their goal because of the mind. To justify killing children, you have to have a particular mindset. And no matter what your weapon of choice is, you will do that.
Well, as old Baz says here on the Gettr stream, if it wasn't a gun, it would be a knife. If it wasn't a knife, it would be a bomb. Evil is evil. Amen, old Baz. I agree to that. And you can't legislate for that. I'm sorry. People talking about Switzerland, by the way. Some foolish people think, oh, the Swiss, they're so lovely and they're so peaceful. Switzerland is the most armed up country in Europe, I think, per capita. I have friends over in Switzerland, and they've got a lot of weapons there, Jed. There's a lot of weapons.
Is that not the country where once you've done your conscription, you go on with your weapon and you keep it?
Yeah.
So everybody's got a weapon.
Weapons. Yeah. And serious weapons as well. Yeah, the Swiss are really armed up. It's amazing. People don't get that. Obviously, says my Swiss friends have guns. Yeah, absolutely they do. Every Swiss has a gun, or just about every Swiss has a gun. And yet we don't get machine. But there's a couple of points I wanted to make before we jump to Ukraine in a second. But and this is a point, and I'm not putting a conspiracy theory out. I'm just asking a question. But does anyone think it's strange that a lot of these mass shootings occur in Republican states? Does anyone else think that's odd? Because I do. I wonder about a lot of this. I wonder about, Jed, there's been so many instances, certainly over the past 20 years, 30 years, where there's been these mass shootings, and some of them are very, very, very peculiar. There's one that struck me really very strange because the one that happened in Vegas. Remember the shooting in Vegas?
Yeah.
When that was one of the strangest things ever. And I've not ever fully understood what happened in Vegas. and there's some of these other shootings as well. And whilst I'm not for 1 minute saying that, they're anything other than they appear, I am saying I just find it curious. What do you think?
I do, David. I just get frustrated with it all. I do. And I've said to you, haven't I, recently? I used to come home when I was on a particular operation that you would know very well. I used to come home with a pistol, and my family, particularly my lady, was horrified that I did. But actually, over recent times, she does now wish I had a pistol.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't now because I'm no longer serving, but I was serving at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, David. I just get so frustrated. I get frustrated with, one, how it gets manipulated. Two, how Democrats jump on it. And I agree. Three, why does it happen in Republican states? It happens there, I think, because what they're trying to do is prove a point. Perhaps, probably. I don't know.
That's the theory.
Prove a point to a Republican that your rights to guns are wrong, and the Democrats will get in next time because look, only Democrats will stop this.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, our friend Republican Rocker says he noted the red state locations, yet not all. As for example, we know Sandy Hook school massacre occurred in blue state California, I think it was, wasn't it? Am I right? Was it California? I think so. So yeah,
I've just got his comments here, David. I'll just throw it up just so.
Yeah, it's just it's in blue, or was it Connecticut? I'm not sure. Just clarify, Republican Rocker, where Sandy Hook occurred. I remember following it with horror as well. Same thing. Ultimately, it's the loss of life, that matters to me. But then, Jed, as I think we are saying,
Connecticut, David. Yeah,
Republican Rocker. Thanks. Yeah, I'm wrong. So Connecticut. Yeah. So that was a blue state. But look, it's just a question I wanted, just an observation, because I mean, we all know, for example, that the American intelligence services would never, ever, ever do anything bad. We know that for a fact, Jed.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't make up a letter about terrorists, mums and dads trying to protect their kids against CRT. The FBI and the White House wouldn't fabricate a letter, would they? To justify sending in, we better not send in military police or military, but we'll send people in, because that's another story that'll get buried by the Democrats, because now we'll have 3 months or 4 months of gun control crap.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, actually, to be honest, JFK had it right. And that's why JFK didn't make it through to the end of 1963. But friends, we can't go into this because we're still on Anti-Free Speech YouTube. And Jed, I think I'm watching the clock here. So listen, look, anyway, we're we've sorted out the US. We're now on the Vance Airways all the way to Ukraine, because of course Ukraine, it's always with us. And I wanted to put up this one, Jed. Here is an exclusive image of the ghost of Kyiv. Let's bring up the ghost. There he is. There he is. There's our best friend, Zelensky, preparing to take off and shoot down probably a couple of squadrons, at the very least, of Russian MiGs. So, Jed, the Ukraine thing continues to be there. And monkeypox is probably taking it off the headlines a wee bit, and some of the stuff in the States has. But you still got this terrible killing and slaughter going on in Ukraine, and you've got. I read a story today where apparently there were some suggestions that there might even be a ceasefire, but Zelensky was saying, well, if there's going to be any ceasefire, one of the clear terms of that would be, Russians are not getting even so much of an inch of Ukrainian land. So there's not going to be a ceasefire, is there?
No, because war generates money. It generates more money. It generates power. And just think, let's say this drags on now for, let's say, 2-3 years, something like that, 4 years. But in the end, it will come to an end. It has to come to an end, you know. But in the end, when it does end, what happens next? Well, all those countries that have fed the war machine, Britain, United States, European Union to some degree, what comes after war? Rebuild. Ukraine are then going to be in the pockets of the United Kingdom, United States, and the European 100%. Union for eternity. Because they're going to ask us to go and rebuild, and we'll rebuild, and this building now is going to cost you $1 billion.
I
mean, actually, it should be $500 million, but we're going to charge you $1 billion because it's a war zone.
Essentially, Ukraine is being bought at the moment. It's being bought by the West, by NATO, essentially, because it will have to be. I mean, I've watched footage of on some of the social media platforms like Telegram of the Russian military blowing up, bridges here, factories there, whatever it is. And like you, Jed, the thought that goes in my mind is, that's going to have to be rebuilt. So if that was some crappy bridge that's been there for 30 years, that will be ultimately rebuilt with a brand new bridge. So as Republican Walker says, and he's repeating what you're saying, it always comes down to money. As our friend Rick says, hi, Ricky, by the way, good to see you. It's like, it is a corrupt Marshall Plan, but actually maybe, Ricky, maybe the Marshall Plan was corrupt as well. But again, that's a different story. So,
I think this is, excuse me, monkeypox again.
Monkeypox,
I think this is one of the, if you weigh up 100% of why we're supporting, I think 40% is supporting because they feel that that's what they have to do. But 60% of it is thinking of what comes next, which is that rebuild phase. And the money that can be generated from that. Because obviously it's not just to rebuild, but you have to rebuild the Ukraine military as well. So there'll be training, there'll be weapons being sold, there'll be tanks, armored vehicles, you name it. There'll be all sorts on sale to Ukraine at a price. Ukraine army will grow from what it was to 3 times what it was, because now they will feel they'll need a bigger military. They'll buy more F-16s from the United States or Eurofighter. No, don't buy the Eurofighter; it don't work. But you get my point. There's a whole gambit now of what can be sold and built, and that is the ultimate goal.
No, I agree. Although, again, some really interesting comments. I see John Gleason says it's going to be over in a month or two because the Ukraine army is getting a bad beating. You're right, John. You're 100% right. They're being wiped out.
Whoa, stop. Brigade Commander, Field Marshal Julia Hartley Brewer says differently. And I know I listen to her in the morning. Because in her military uniform, giving us the military brief. I know she's correct. And Ukraine are winning, David.
Well, funny, I'm in the same boat as our friend Old Baz over on Gettr. He says, is Dame Julia still sucking up to Zelensky? I can't listen anymore. No, I can't listen anymore either. So it's very good that you listen, because
I listen so you don't have to.
I know, you're a very brave man. Your George Cross is in the post.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Because, seriously, there's such a disconnect, Chad, between, I think, the military reality on the ground in Ukraine and the stuff that we're getting in the States and here in the UK through the fake news media, which is pretending that the Ukrainians are winning. Obviously makes the point here. Russia would have flattened them if it was real. Well, you're right. Russia would have absolutely would have because I dispute the fact, Jed, it's an invasion. You say I don't think this was an invasion. It was an incursion. But if Russia wanted to invade, it would have been all over. They didn't invade the country. That's a fact.
So David, can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
What do you think Russia's playing at?
Very simple. Russia had put up with, I try to be as neutral as you can, but
I'm sorry,
like Northern Monkey. You're telling Jed to have a banana.
No, I thought that was quite ironic.
A name like Northern Monkey. I think what Russia is doing in the first instance is securing the southeastern part of Ukraine, and also the essential port, Crimea in particular, along with Mariupol as well, which is in the strategic interest of Russia. And, should that have been done militarily? No, it shouldn't yet. But from 2014 to 2022, Ukraine, at the behest of the US fundamentally, and laterally Britain, they pushed the cards so far that I didn't think, I keep asking myself, what, Jed, would I have done had I been Putin? And I would have done everything possible. I would not have wanted a war, but I'm not going to sit back and let 3.9 million Russian-speaking people in the Donbass be terrorized and blitzed to hell by Zelensky's Ukrainian Nazi forces. What do you say to that?
I agree, and just think how key that port of Mariupol is as well to the Russians. It's a deep water port; it has to be. So strategically, it's vital importance. It's clearly where all the grain produced by Ukraine comes through or goes out of.
Yeah.
I'm fed up of hearing Ukraine's the breadbasket of the world. Every country that ever gets attacked is the breadbasket of the world. So for God's sake, there's so many breadbaskets, we can't move for them. But the point is, it is a strategic port. And to hold that and to have that land and that ground for Russia would be key, because anything that goes through there also they can tax, they can raise revenue.
Yeah, but this is the other thing about all of this, Jed. The one country that's doing really well financially out of all of this is Russia. The Russian ruble is stronger against the US dollar now than it was before Biden said he was going to crush it.
Yeah, but that's because the European Union, that's desperate on their gas, gas sniffers of the European Union.
Yeah,
they're secretly paying in rubles.
I know. I know.
So they said, "Oh no, we're not going to touch Russian gas. No, we're sanctions. Shh, don't tell anybody. We'll pay them in rubles like they've asked."
And Jed, you're saying that, and we say that, but if you go to the mainstream media, they won't talk about that. They talk about we're going to introduce even tougher sanctions against Putin. They'll talk nonsense like that. Even as you rightly point out, Jed, the reality is the European Union, Germany in particular, they need the gas, they need the oil. So it will.
Yeah, but if you look at the map of the globe of who's applying sanctions, it's about 6 or 7 countries.
Well,
not every country in the world is applying sanctions.
Oh no! I think it's a total of 21 countries in the whole world out of 100.
But even then, David, that's a small proportion. But those 20 so countries, why are they applying sanctions? Because what they want is a piece of the pie when it's over.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, I agree. Completely agree with that one there. I see a few comments here before we wrap up. Obviously says, bloody Reagan should never have taken down the Berlin Wall. Someone else saying, what a pile of BS. Russia, Canada, and the US all provide the greatest amounts of exported wheat. Super J TV makes a really interesting point. And this one has been coming up time and time again. Well, done for raising the point, Super J over on the YouTubes. Where's all the footage? This is a war, right? So where's all the footage of the war? I don't see a lot of footage at all. It's remarkable.
No, and if you think about the Gulf War, you were getting footage, I believe. Bear in mind, I didn't have a TV at the time. I was a bit busy, and bits and this and gets everywhere. By the way, I mean everywhere. But yeah, where is the footage? Where is this? The drone footage. Where is you just don't see it. And you just keep seeing pictures of the same buildings we've seen now for months that have been blown up. Yeah, it is. No, that's an absolutely brilliant point. Where is the footage?
It is a good question. Well, we've been asking that actually all along. Like as Super J follows up here, he says, every person on the planet, including immigrants and boats, exactly, have got their HD cameras in their pockets. So everyone in Ukraine must have the similar.
Yeah, but they have, I tell you what, though, every morning, Field Marshal, Admiral Brigadier Juliet Ali Brewer always has somebody on from Ukraine, and they have perfect broadband.
Yeah. Which I wish I had, by the way. Yeah,
they have perfect broadband, David. And she has lots of guests on, and even MPs that are just across the road from her, really, from Vaccine Towers, and we have line breakup and all sorts, and sometimes they have to go to voice only because there's not enough bandwidth for video and voice. Yeah, every time they go to Ukraine, it's a crisp, clear, 100% picture and sound.
Yep. And the reason for that, as we all know, folks, is that the mainstream media are simply propagandists. They do not report the news fairly and impartially. They do not provide us with the requisite information. What they do is they shove a narrative down our throat. That's what the mainstream media is. That's what we're not. And, as I said earlier on today, Jed, in one of the podcasts, I mean, honestly, the more people watch the mainstream media, the more ill-informed they become, the more ignorant and the more programmed they become.
Yeah, I tell you what, on that note, David, I'll end tonight's show.
Okay.
You've lined me up right, because people believe and they're fed what they want by the mainstream media. Now, recently, I mean very recently, there's been an absolute outcry over transphobia. Yeah. Transphobia beats Ukraine. It beats shootings. It beats everything. Transphobia. And I just wanted to leave everybody, because we do like to leave everybody, don't we, with a nice funny clip to play out with. So as soon as I saw it, I knew the left were going to melt down. And if you do get a chance to watch this, you'll know what I'm talking about in a moment. If you get a chance to watch this, please watch it, because it's one full hour of absolutely belly laughing. And we'll play out on this, David.
So, okay, so just before we play out in this one, thanks for listening and sticking with us so far. I appreciate that on whichever platform you're on. Thanks for being here. Remember, if you want to support the work that we do, there are links below that you can go and do that. And here's one of them. You can buy me a coffee. And now, Jed, the floor is yours as we end, as we try to do every time we get together, with giving everyone a good laugh. So, cue up the finale.
Well, here we go, guys. Enjoy your evening. Thanks for being here. Take care.
Those fucking dinosaurs. No, I love the new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? The new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and cocks. They're as good as gold. I love them. No, it's the old-fashioned with it. And now the old-fashioned, they go like, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person isn't a lady? Well, his penis. Her penis, you fucking bigot. What if he rapes me? What if she rapes you? You fucking turf whore. Old-fashioned with...